Malik Washington is making a push to be QB1 for Maryland.
You are Locked On Terps, your daily podcast on the Maryland Terps, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What's up, everyone? I'm Tre Moore, host of Locked On Terps, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So thank you guys for making us part of your day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. And I'm also doing work at InsideBlackandGold.net. So make sure you guys head over to InsideBlackandGold.net for all your latest Terps news. So obviously the biggest story for Maryland football this offseason, I think, is the Malik Washington. Everything about Malik Washington. Is he starting? Is he not starting? What's the deal with Malik Washington? Is he going to be as good as people think? Is a 4-star going to be a DMV hero? I think this whole thing, this whole program right now is really about that kid. And it's always about the quarterback position. It's always about the guy that's throwing the football, the guy that gets to touch the ball every single play, the only player in the field that touches the ball every single play besides the center, and the most important player, not only just on the football field, but in all of sports. If we really look at it, it's the hardest position to play. I think it's the most gets the most notoriety, and it's a really tough position overall. And I think when you look at a football program, it's going to start with who's your quarterback, whether it's high school, whether it's college, whether it's the NFL, wherever it is, the stars of your leagues, the stars that everyone's going to talk about, that's most important, that everybody wants, is a quarterback. And Maryland has a kid in Malik Washington who we think is going to come down as has a chance, I think, to be one of the best Maryland quarterbacks that we have seen. He was a 4-star rated quarterback. He made a huge jump in the rankings. On 247, they have him ranked as the 5th ranked quarterback in the 2020 class, 54th ranked nationally, the 2nd ranked player in the state of Maryland. Like, that's a pretty high bar to keep up with. That's a pretty high bar to be able to hit for Malik Washington. And I think a lot of the conversations today is who is going to start for Maryland football. And those are going to continue to really be a big part of what people are going to talk about. Of course, Malik Washington isn't the only quarterback on our roster. We also have Justin Martin, who's the other guy that's competing for the job. Transfer from UCLA, has a lot of traits and a lot of talent, but hasn't really put it together at his previous school at UCLA, just hasn't played a ton. So you wonder kind of what's his ceiling as a player now, being a couple years in. But a lot of people thought Justin Martin would be the guy right away, would be the guy early for Maryland football as we wait for Malik Washington to figure things out, to figure out what his place is on this Maryland team, to figure out exactly how he fits into this team and all those different things. We kind of thought that Malik Washington was probably going to we knew he was going to start eventually. We knew the plan for Malik Washington, but reports are that Malik Washington could be making headway and could be playing well enough to actually be the Maryland starter. So I actually missed this report, and I wanted to make sure I talked about this today, but I was looking through a couple of things, and when I was looking at Maryland football, looking for any news story, something really interesting was said by 247's Jeff Erman, who comes out with all the Maryland stuff, and he said an interesting thing, that true freshman Malik Washington is setting pace so far in spring ball. I'm starting to think Malik Washington might be the opening day starter, Erman said on the IMS radio. That's not to say that Justin Martin has been bad. So that is a really interesting thing. And if Jeff Erman's saying it, then you got to put a little bit of stock into it. And it's definitely something that could happen. But here's kind of what the report means as I break it down, as how I kind of read it. So this is how I see it. I think it's obvious that in practice, Malik Washington's the best player. He's the best quarterback in that room. I think it's pretty clear. And we've seen some clips. Sneaky, we've seen some clips. And I haven't talked about them a ton because I'm not going to overanalyze an Instagram clip or two. But we have seen some clips of Maryland football is posting Malik Washington making some big boy throws, some throws that you want your quarterback to be able to make, some throws that our quarterbacks couldn't make last year when we would go back and forth between Billy Edwards and MJ Morris. Both guys I thought were just okay bridge type of quarterbacks. And I know college, you don't really think of guys as bridge quarterbacks. That's more of an NFL concept. But to me, those guys were kind of bridge types of prospects or bridge types of quarterbacks, not guys you want starting more than a year or half a year. And a lot of times we saw Billy Edwards struggle to make accurate throws. We saw Billy Edwards struggle to throw the ball in spots where we needed to be. We saw him struggle consistently. We knew we saw it time to time. We knew he had a big arm, but he had trouble controlling it. And I saw Malik Washington make some throws on the Maryland Instagram, and I was like, look at that. That's something that we've been waiting to see. Look at that. That's something that could be exciting. That's something that pops. That's something that's special. This might be too far, but that's a throw that people on Sundays make. And so when I watched Malik Washington in a few clips, it's clear that he's been having, or I don't want to say it's clear that he's been having good practices, but there's definitely seems to be momentum heading around that. And if Jeff Erman's saying that he's making headway and that he's making a push to start, I think there's a real chance that Malik Washington ends up being QB1. Again, I don't want to say Justin Martin's playing badly, but what did we kind of expected this in a way. Maybe we expected Justin Martin to come in and have a little bit better understanding of what college football is and all these different things, but Martin didn't even play for a UCLA team that hasn't been that awesome over the past couple of years. And so to me, it makes sense. It makes sense that Malik is QB1. It makes sense that we are giving him the opportunity to be able to do that, and that his talent is popping off the field, it sounds like. And this is all kind of reporting, so you don't know exactly what's going in there. I'm sure he's having up and down days, but I'm sure that some of his high-end stuff is some really talented stuff for Malik Washington, things that you just don't see every day, throws that you just don't see every day from a Maryland quarterback. And my thing is, why hold him back? When you look at Maryland's schedule, when you look at how Maryland's year is set up, I don't think there's a reason to hold back Malik Washington. I think it could hurt more if you ended up sitting him and then throwing him into the fire later, just based off of how Maryland's season is kind of broken down. I've talked about it. I've talked about why I think Malik should start right away in those different things. But when you break down the schedule, Maryland has their first 3 games are all very winnable. And the easiest games on our schedule are all the first 3 games. Florida Atlantic, Northern Illinois, Towson. Those are the first 3 games. I think that's the Northern Illinois team that actually beat Notre Dame last year. But that was kind of a once in a million type of thing, something that's really never, ever, ever supposed to happen and will probably not really happen again. And Maryland should be able to handle those guys. But when we look at it, you get 3 of your out-of-conference easy games in. And so that leads me to believe that it makes sense. If you think Malik Washington's the best player, I don't think we got to mess around with this thing. I like Justin Martin as a player, but the fact of the matter is if Malik Washington's the best player, Malik Washington has 4 more years or 3 more years, whatever the case is, as a Maryland player, if he decides to stick around, there's not really a reason to try and force the Justin Martin agenda, unless you just feel like you feel like Malik Washington isn't ready. But if he's showing day to day in practice that he's the best player and that he's the talent that we think he is, let's not hold him back. And I think that Mike Locksley won't, because in today's game, we don't want to mess around. You don't want to mess around, because guys will quick to say, oh, you guys didn't want to play me in the first 6 games. Guess what? I'm going to Auburn, or guess what? I'm going to Michigan, or guess what? I'm going to play quarterback at Clemson and be the next quarterback there. You got to be careful with this thing. And the earlier that you can play him, the more happy that Malik Washington in his camp. And he's got a lot of people kind of working for him, whether it's his family, probably as an agent, all these different things. And so there's going to be a lot of different people that are doing different things for the Terps. And so you don't want to mess around with the Malik Washington thing. You want to get him on the field early as possible and get him in a rhythm early. You play your easiest games of the season early. You don't want him to throw him into game 5 when Justin Martin's not looking great against like a Wisconsin or something like that, or a Washington or a Nebraska. Those are our first 3 Big Ten games after those first 3 out-of-conference games that we play. We don't want to throw him in there and be like, okay, now you got to go against Wisconsin, a really tough defense. You're playing our Maryland's former quarterback, Billy Edwards, who's going to have a ton of juice. You're going to have to go in that environment and play well after not having a ton of reps. I don't think that's the way to go about it. I think you play him early. I think you play him a lot. Think about it kind of like the Clemson situation. I don't know if you guys remember this, but when they had Trevor Lawrence and Kelly Bryant, in the first couple games of the season, they had some easier games, and they played both of those guys. Both guys got reps. Both of those guys got series, and then it was clear that Trevor was the guy, and then they ended up going with Trevor Lawrence. So I think that's something that you want to see Maryland football do. I don't think you want to mess around with this thing. I think you want to get this kid reps early because we know later on the season we're probably going to want to see him play. And this could be let's be honest, this Maryland team isn't awesome. It's just not, and I'll tell you that firsthand. And that's something that can get the fans excited. That's something that can get people excited about the future. It gets me excited to watch the games, is watching a kid like Malik Washington, even though we're not the best team, even though we struggle, a kid that has a ton of talent, a ton of athleticism, a ton of traits, go out there as a freshman and make his case for maybe Big Ten Freshman of the Year or something like that. So I think it could be really cool. We'll see exactly what happens, but I do think Malik Washington should be QB1, but there's also reports that he is going to end up winning that job. So it's not just me saying stuff. It is kind of what is out there right now. So I do think it's interesting. So we'll see exactly how that comes into plan. But I do think that Malik Washington starting could make a lot of sense for Maryland football. Let's talk about Caleb Wheatland entering the portal. Another star linebacker for Maryland football enters the portal. We'll talk about that next. Scaling your businesses requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, development, design, and more. Experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, and marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. If you need help with marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance experts who delivered incredible results. Posting a job is free and simple, and within a day with multiple qualified candidates to choose from. Instead of hiring full-time, Upwork helps find affordable top-tier freelancers to scale your businesses efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now and post your job for free. That's Upwork.com, Upwork.com to connect with top talent and grow your business today. Let's talk about Maryland linebacker. Caleb Wheatland has officially entered the portal. I touched on it yesterday, but I just want to touch on it some more and talk about this is a big loss for Maryland football. I know that a lot of people are saying like, oh, it might just be a name. He hasn't like been a guy that's gone absolutely crazy over the last couple of years, but Caleb Wheatland's been a guy that's been super solid for Maryland football over the last couple of years. And I thought was a guy that could definitely help us and be really our star in terms of the defensive side of things. I didn't expect him to be anything crazy in terms of, oh, this guy's like a first 3-round talent in the NFL draft. That's not what I mean by star for us or a first team All Big Ten. I just thought having an experienced guy in the middle of the floor going into his senior year, a guy that's done it for a while now for Maryland football, a guy that started to put it together now for Maryland football, I thought he could be a guy that middle of our defense could help out a lot with a lot of moving pieces, with a lot of things different, with a lot of younger guys playing, with a lot of freshmen in the back end that potentially could be playing, a newer linebacker room that had lost guys. I thought he could be the star and leader of our team by doing it that way. I thought potentially he might be one of our captains. He's been doing it since he's a freshman. He's been playing since he's been a freshman, and he's not like a freakish athlete. He's not insanely talented or anything like that to me. He's just a linebacker, knows where to be, sticks his nose in, makes the tackles, is a tough kid, always seems to put his responsibilities in the right spot. And that's the reason he played for Maryland football. It wasn't because he was the toughest kid, wasn't because he was the fastest kid, wasn't because he was the best athlete out there or a freakish athlete. Like Jason Barham, who transferred to Michigan and had a solid year for them there. That he was really special, and we didn't want him to leave because he was just a freak. Like he has a chance to be a draft pick in the NFL draft, like a first 3 or 4 round guy in the NFL draft. He was a freak. He could come off the edge. He could do all these different things. He was one of the faster guys on the team. He was kind of your prototypical linebacker, a guy that the NFL is going to like a lot. That's not what Caleb Wheatland is. Caleb Wheatland's going to have everyone in the right spot, which is going to help us a ton. He's going to keep everyone organized. He's going to know exactly what he has to do on this play call. He's going to know exactly what lane he has to fill. He's going to be in the right spot in coverage. He's going to make a ton of tackles, and that's what he's been for us. And he's also been a really good pass rusher for us. In 2024, had 4 sacks. In 2023, had 3.5 sacks. Believe it or not, that's near the top of our team for sacks. Not a ton of people are getting 7, 8, 9 sacks. Like, people aren't really getting that for us right now. We just don't have those types of rushers. Hopefully, we have a kid coming in the 2026 class in Zion Ely, who I think we're all excited about, the 5-star prospect. Hopefully, he can come in and get 10 sacks a year or something like that. He's that type of prospect and has that type of ability, and we're all excited about what he can become. The arguably number 1 recruit in 2026 class. Still unsure exactly how we got him. That's a guy you just want to be able to keep around. But right now we don't have guys like that can go rush the quarterback at that high of a level, that can go get to the other team's running back or whatever the case is, make tackle for losses. We don't have guys like that right now, especially with losing Kellen White, who I thought had a chance to make a jump and be like a 7-sack guy. I didn't see why Kellen White couldn't do that. He's been top 2 or 3 in sacks over the last couple of years on our team. And so we lose our experienced linebacker, Caleb Wheatland, in the front. And it definitely hurts because I liked our linebacker room with Caleb Wheatland. I thought it was one of our more decent rooms because we had a guy like Michael Harris who has a ton of talent. I think he's actually more talented than Caleb Wheatland. I think he runs a little faster. Might have to add a little weight, but he's a really dynamic athlete. But he just hasn't played a ton. And we have some of these other guys like Trey Reddick on the outside that's going into his sophomore year, Daniel Wingate, DJ Samuels, some of these other guys that have played and that have shown flashes of being pretty solid players, but we just haven't put it together, or Keyshawn Flowers or Kiari James, but they just haven't quite put it together because they just haven't played a ton because they're young guys, but we know they're really solid athletes. We know some of the things that they can do. We know they're working hard in the weight room, but that's a big reason why I wanted Caleb Wheatland to stay, and I think it definitely hurts that we don't have an experienced body that can get everyone organized, that's going to play mistake-free football. He might not be a freakish first 4-round talent guy, but he's going to have everyone in the right spots. He's going to have everyone doing the right things. He's not going to have to he's not going to have us unorganized. Like, that's the type of guy that to me would be a star for Maryland football. And you have to make up in different ways where you are more have talent deficiencies. You got to be able to make it up in different ways, in other ways. And I think that's kind of, to me, where Caleb Wheatland kind of made up for some of our talent deficiencies. I thought he was going to be able to put guys in the right spot. I thought he was going to be organized. So you guys kind of get the point why I think Caleb Wheatland's a big loss. And you're just losing a lot of guys now, and we continue to lose guys in the portal. So today's day is, you're going to lose guys. It's more about who you're going to add is kind of how I see it. So we'll see who we can add, but Caleb Wheatland is definitely a decent loss for Maryland football, a big loss, I should say. Maryland basketball and Coach Buzz Williams need to figure out how to get more size. Talk about that next and why that is so important for the Terps. The NBA playoffs are almost here, and FanDuel is giving new customers an incredible way to get in on the action. Right now, you join FanDuel and place your first $5 bet, and you get $250 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. I love how FanDuel makes betting so easy, whether it's picking your favorite team or driving into player props. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips off, you can even combine live prop bets in the same game parlays for a chance to win big. Don't miss out. Head to FanDuel.com and claim your $250 in bonus bets today. So I'm starting to really realize that Maryland basketball needs more size. I think last year's team, I think part of what made us really good was the size inside. Their Queen and Julian Reese, what they brought in terms of some of their shot blocking at times on the defensive side of things and be able to clog up space, it really, I thought, made our team go from pretty good to really good at times. I thought Julian Reese was one of the better defensive sides guys in terms of how he moved, in terms of his size, in terms of his length, in terms of his athleticism for his size. You could just do stuff at his size that just weren't that you just don't normally see. And I think Maryland basketball heading into next year, we're going to need more size. That's just the way it is. That's the name of the game in basketball. People say, oh, you're 6'4", or oh, you're 6'5". You don't play basketball? People look at you kind of weird in today's world. You say you were 6'7", you don't play basketball. Like, people are going to look at you kind of weird. Like, you didn't play growing up. Your parents never made you play because you were so tall. That's kind of the name of the game of the sport. That's what everyone talks about with basketball. Plenty of people can't make it because they're just not big enough. And that's just the reality of the situation. And when you're playing Big Ten basketball, you're going to need some size. If you're playing any college basketball, you're going to need some size on your team if you want to be successful. And right now, Maryland, I love what Buzz Williams has done in the portal. I do. I think we've done an excellent job. I love where this roster is at. I've told you guys, I think it's similar to how Michigan State was last year. And I hated on the Michigan State team a little bit, but the fact of the matter is they made an Elite Eight. We did not. They made it pretty far in the dance. Tom Izzo, obviously a really good coach, but I thought they had a lot of depth, and that's what I think Maryland basketball is kind of starting to build with this Maryland team. I think we're trying to get 8, 9, 10 guys that can play at a really high level. Michigan State had 10 guys that you could just throw in and out, and it wouldn't be a drop off in play. They didn't have a star or anyone that was like, oh my gosh, like Jace Richardson kind of became that. And I think that's what Maryland and Buzz Williams is building. But we also know Michigan State had some size. They had 4 guys that were pretty big. They had a couple 6'11", 6'10" guys, borderline 7-footers down low that could do a lot of different things. And right now, Maryland's biggest player is Pharrell Payne. And I like Payne's game, but he's not big enough to hold down that that center spot alone. And that's our biggest guy. The next guy, Elijah Sanders, is 6'8". I want to say Solomon is about 6'7". So it's like you want to get a little bit more size, especially to compete in the Big Ten. And some of the out-of-conference tournament that we're playing in now in Vegas, the Players Era Festival or whatever it's called, you guys probably know better than me. It's important that we have some size and athleticism down low because that's going to be a lot of big-time teams like in Alabama, like some of these teams, Auburn, that are going to play. And so to me, you want to have some really big – you want to have some bigger guys than we have right now. Like 6'9", yeah, that's like Pharrell Payne can play down low for us, but we're going to want some bigger guys. We're going to have some guys that have a little bit more size down low, and that's just the way it turns out to be. And so I want to see Maryland football add a bit more size down low. I want to see us do a little bit more with what we have in terms of adding different guys. I like where our guards are at. I just think we're a little bit small right now. When you play a team like Purdue next year, that's absolutely looks like they're going to be huge and have a ton of size down low. And when you have to double teams down low, it makes it harder to play defense. It does sometimes. I know that's some teams' philosophies is to double teams down low, but it just makes it a bit harder. So I do want to see us add more size. I think that's the one thing that you look at for Maryland basketball and say that's the one underlining thing I think Coach Buzz Williams could do a better job at. That's all we have for today. Thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps. Make sure you like and subscribe. We're here every day talking Maryland football and basketball. So thank you guys for listening to Locked on Terps.